describe the way we live our lives. So much like that, this word skleros is being used the same way. It's used as meaning hard and dry, but it's now being transferred into a behavioral type of thing. All right, so it says, it is then transferred to the region of ethics in which it chiefly moves, expressing their roughness, harshness, and intractability in the moral nature of a man. So if a man is like as a matter of fact, they give a better example than I could give. It says, thus Nabal in 1 Samuel 25:3. Now, if you read the story, King David went to Nabal and asked him for some assistance. In other words, for some food, for some cattle. But Nabal, he was being an asshole, and he was, who's this David? Who's this David you talking about? I don't know nothing about no David. He ain't getting nothing from me. Just to paraphrase of his behavior, he was being a complete asshole to King David. So King David in turn, went there to kill him, but luckily, Nabal's wife pleaded with David, and the Lord ended up killing Nabal anyway. So it says here, thus Nabal in 1 Samuel 25:3 is skleros, which is hard, and no epithet could better express the evil conditions of the troll. All right, so hard was something that was put on a man who was like Nabal, who was being a complete asshole. All right, even though the word hard is used to describe the Lord in that parable, here it's being explained that the word hard is more of a word to describe someone's behavior who was just being a complete mean person without method, without a reason to be mean. He's just being an asshole. All right. Now the rest of this paragraph from here, where it says for other company, I'm pointing at it like you can see my finger, where it says for other company right here, all the way down to the end of this paragraph, it just gives you works outside of the scriptures that use this word. I didn't go into any of these works. You got some works here from Plato and some other men. If you brothers want, you can go and look these words up. But for the sake of this show, I want to move on to the next paragraph. All right. Now it's going to outline and go over the word austeros. All right. It says here, austeros, which in the New Testament appears but once in Luke 19:21. It also appears in the 22nd verse, but it's the same parable. It says, and never in the Septuagint, is in its primary meaning applied to such things as draw together and contract the tongue, and harsh and stringent to the palate. So when you eat something sour, when you have something sour in it, and your tongue you get that feeling where you want to suck on your tongue when you eat something sour, because your tongue is sticking to the top of your mouth. That's what the palate is, or palate. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that, but that's the top of your mouth. And when you eat something sour or drink something sour, that's what happens to your tongue. So that's what that word was originally meant to be used for, something sour to the taste. So the first word, you have something that is more describing something the way it feels to your touch. Now this one is something that's described how something is to your taste, right? It says, as new wine not yet mellowed by age, unripe fruit, and the like. Thus, Cowper, describing himself when a boy, as gathering from hedgerows sloes austere. Now, hedgerows sloes is like it's like a blueberry type thing. Matter of fact, I got a picture of it right here. Right here. So it looks like a blueberry. As you know, blueberries are tart, and it kind of makes your tongue stick to the top of your mouth with that sour feeling. All right. So going back, it says uses austere with exactest propriety. So this man Cowper was using the word for what it actually meant, something that was sour to the taste. Okay, it says, but just as we have transferred strict from stringo to the region of ethics, so the Greeks transferred austeros with an image borrowed from the taste, as in skleros from the touch. So these words are being used poetically. They're used to describe something the way it feels to your senses, but it's being transferred into how you behave. All right. It says, okay. So again, at the end of this paragraph, it goes into other works that are outside of the scriptures. So I'm gonna move on to the next paragraph. All right. All right. So it says here, at the same time, none of these epithets which austeros is associated imply that deep moral perversity which lies in many which skleros is linked. So in other words, when you hear the word austere in these other works, is being used to describe someone good, whereas the word skleros, which is hard, is being more someone who's it says here with deep moral perversity. So it's someone who's just mean, just for no reason, no method, nothing. He's just mean for no reason. All right. It says, and moreover, it is met not seldom in more honorable company. Thus, it is joined with these words here. Now, again, these are Greek words that I didn't necessarily go into, but you brothers can, look these words up or these other works. But again, for the sake of the show, there's a couple of things that I wanted to take out of this paragraph. Okay, so it says here, the Stoics affirmed all good men to be austere. So now you're starting to see the difference between being hard or just being just straight up mean to people and austere. Stoics, they use the word to describe good men. All right. And moving on, there was another piece that I wanted to read out of this paragraph. It says here, in Latin, austerus, and forgive me for the pronunciation, man. My mouth is used to English, so forgive me for the pronunciation. But this is austerus, which is the Latin way of saying austeros. So it says, it is predominantly an epithet of honor. All right. So again, austere is you're starting to get a clearer understanding that it's something that is honorable, being austere. All right. It says, he to whom it is applied is earnest and severe, opposed to all levity. Let's look up that word levity. Now we're starting to get a better understanding of what it is to be austere. All right. Now, a man who's opposed to all levity, it says here, humor or frivolity, especially the treatment of a serious matter with humor or in a manner lacking due respect. So a man who's austere is a man who shuns levity. Here it is, people playing around, and you got that man that snaps at you like Elder Tahar. He's opposed to levity. If you ever sit around that man, or all the elders for that matter, if you ever sit around those men, you'll see that they don't play much. They're not very playful people. We all crack jokes, and the elders do too, but they're very serious men, and they take their lives seriously, and they're opposed to playing around all the goddamn time. So that's what a man who is austere does. Not start fights, not call people out of their name just for the sake of saying I'm austere, or just for the sake of saying I'm rough, I'm a rough man, so I'm gonna curse this dude out. Being austere, there's levels to it, and I'm gonna show you. All right, so going back, it says austerus is predominantly an epithet of honor. He to whom it is applied is earnest and severe, opposed to all levity, needing, it may very well be, to watch against harshness, rigor, or moroseness, into which he might easily lapse. You see, so a man who is austere, he's watching and making sure that he doesn't fall into misbehavior. All right. It says, but as yet not chargeable with these. All right. So, closing paragraph. It says here, we may distinguish then between them thus. Skleros conveys always a reproach and a grove one. All right. So when you skleros, which is the word hard in English, says here conveys always a reproach and a grove one. So hard is somebody who's being reproachful. A brother would be well, fuck you, nigga, you ain't shit. All because they're on the other side of that sign, and we forget we was on the other side of that sign at a time too. We were also on the other side of that sign trying to learn, and simplicity. We were simple at the time. You know, the brothers that's in this truth, you know, it's a small number, but we got to remember we were on that side too. You know, and imagine a man if they didn't take us in, and imagine if you know, Adama and I, we used to go to New York to watch the elders. Imagine if the elders was like, what the fuck y'all niggas coming out here for? We would have never came again. You know, so it's not always about being mean and just out there just yelling at people and cursing them out. You're a teacher. The scriptures say we're supposed to be ministers. The word minister means to serve. So we're out there to teach the people. And you know, even Esau in baseball give you 3 strikes, and then you get on the motherfucker. But don't just get on them just because you got Luke 19:27 in your back pocket. Oh, the Lord was austere. The Lord was hard. Yeah, but he had method. The Lord had method to his hardness. He had reached a level of righteousness so much that levity, lasciviousness, and anything unclean around him aggravated him. And I'm going to show you that there's levels to being austere. You don't just become austere just because you got a scripture in your back pocket that allows you to be a certain way because well, the Bible says it. No, being austere is something that you grow into, something that you become, and I'm gonna show it too. It says here, it indicates a character harsh, inhuman, and in the earlier use of the word, uncivil. And sometimes you watch these videos, and you know I'm sometimes I get loud with people too. You know, so I'm applying this to myself also, because we all get that way sometimes. But have method, have a reason, be indignant. The scriptures say, be angry, but sin not. So don't be out there just shitting on people just for no reason. All right. So it says here, in the words of Hesiod, and this is probably some Greek quote from this man. All right, so continuing on, it says, it is not so with austeros. This epithet does not of necessity convey a reproach at all, any more than the German streng, which is very different from heart, and even where it does, yet conveys one of far less opprobrious a kind, rather the exaggeration of a virtue pushed too far than an absolute vice. So in other words, you when you become austere, it's almost like people thought of the Lord as being too righteous. That's what it says. Why it says here, virtue pushed too far. He was so at such a high level that it was hard for people to be around him. They couldn't say the wrong thing because he'd snap and correct them. They couldn't do the wrong thing because he'd snap and correct them. So he was hard to be around. That's what being austere is. When you've improved you, then the wickedness around you gets annoying. So you constantly correcting it. You're snapping at brothers. That's when you become austere. When you've improved you to a level where things that you've disciplined yourself not to do now become annoying because other brothers haven't done it yet. So, but even in that, you still have to have a method. You still got to bring a brother to your level also. You got to, like the scriptures say, being willing to teach others also, so that they'll be able to teach. So you got to bring a brother up to your level. But just being out there being just yelling at people, rah, 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 just to say, oh, but the Lord was austere, the Lord was a hard man. Don't the scriptures say that? That's not what this truth is about. All right. So moving on, I wanted to get into this word austere again, because when you go to the root word of where austeros came from, you get an even deeper understanding of the word. All right. So going here. It says here, let the lexicon play it.
Strong's G 109, aer,
which means the air, particularly the lower and denser air, as distinguished from the higher and rarer air, the atmospheric region. Now, if you know anything about air, the higher you get in the atmosphere, the harder it becomes to breathe.